Welcome to episode 2 of the Black Women Rising podcast. I'm Jessica, your host, and on this week's episode, I'm talking to Kristin Moore. She has the most beautiful spirit. She's the mother of 2 handsome boys, and her resilience is inspiring. I'd like to introduce you to Kristin. So, Kristin, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to be a podcast guest on our podcast. And I'm going to start with the same question I always start with, which is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. And thank you for having me. It's an honor to be one of your guests. So I guess just with the basics, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, on the northwest side of Detroit. Yes. And coming out of college, I was a marketing major. And I will say that I picked marketing because growing up in sort of a blue-collar environment, I felt a little bit pigeonholed into following conventional wisdom and picking a major that would land me that traditional job upon graduation, knowing dang well I should have been, in the arts and the humanities. But I didn't sell myself all the way short because I figured if I was going to be a business major, I wanted to pick what I thought to be like the most colorful and creative of the business functions. So for me, it wasn't going to be economics, finance, accounting, any of that. It was marketing. And then later on, I went on to earn an MBA. So BA, MBA, aside from the alphabet soup. Aside from that, I guess the best way to describe me would be, or to tell you a little bit about me, is that I'm a recently widowed mother of 3. I have 2 little boys and 1 angel baby. Now living in Irvine, California by way of Seattle, and again by way of Detroit.
Awesome. Now, so you went from Detroit to Seattle. Being that I'm also from Detroit, how was that transition?
It's a little bit of a culture shock, just demographically speaking, because you go from a city that is like 90-something% Black to this quirky little town in the Northwest with a few of us peppered throughout. So that was a little bit of a shock at first. But I will say that although there aren't as many Black people in Seattle, it was a very diverse environment.
Okay.
And I think it was just because I had never moved anywhere else except an hour away for college. So it was really refreshing to get to know a different area of the country and just see how the cultures were different.
What made you move out there?
So we moved out there because of my late husband.
Okay.
He was an automotive engineer. He worked for a company called Yazaki North America. And he helped design wire harnesses on the Chrysler programs for cars. And if you remember, back around 2005, 2006 timeframe, the auto industry was sort of starting to bottom out in anticipation of the big recession we had in 2008. So with that in mind, Andre started looking at Andre, that was my late husband, as you know.
Yeah.
But Andre started looking at other engineering opportunities around the country, one of those being aerospace. Boeing has a really heavy presence in the Northwest, so he was applying there. Northrop Grumman in Virginia, he applied to space programs in Florida. So for a short period of time, around October of 2006, we didn't know where in the country we would be going once he started getting offers. And he got the offer from Seattle. And January 1st, 2007, we were on the plane. We had just gotten married that December.
Oh, wow.
So we were headed to an entirely new life. And that's how we ended up in Seattle.
Nice. Now, how did you end up in California?
So after spending 7 years in Seattle, Seattle was just so good to us. I still miss it to this day, because a year and a half after Andre was hired at Boeing, I was hired. And contrary to popular belief, it's not because the husband got me in there or anything,
Right.
but the thing about it was we started making all these friends that were also engineers at Boeing and new transplants to Seattle. And so we would have Thanksgiving together and, go on vacations and things like that. They became our family outside of Detroit. And just in everyday conversation, I just saw these people working at Boeing and taking advantage of these awesome benefits.
Wow.
The best of them being the Learning Together program they have at Boeing, which will pay for your school in total. And at the time, before they started to enact these new rules and cut budgets and stuff, at the time, they would pay for anything you went to school for.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So shortly before I got hired, my friend actually went to culinary school and Boeing paid for it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Crazy, right? So I started applying at Boeing. It took me a year and a half before, I got hired there. Fast forward, I also worked at Boeing too, but Andre, he's over here ascending up the ladder, first becoming a lead, then he became a manager. And when Boeing was moving their customer service hub down to California, they called him in to help establish the propulsion leg of that whole organization.
Oh.
Yes. So they brought us down to Orange County. We both worked at the Seal Beach location. And that is how we ended up in Surfer Town.
Wow. Nice. Yeah,
Yes.
you guys are right by the beach.
Yes. I don't go as often as I like, but yes, sometimes I can smell the ocean from home. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool. So between the move from Detroit to Seattle to California, what regrets do you have from, I'd say, the last, let's say, 20 to 25 years?
Regrets. I would say my number one regret that has sort of impacted every decision I've made since occurred still in high school.
Oh, okay.
So throughout my education, like since childhood, I had always just been drawn to the University of Michigan. I mean, everything from it being in Ann Arbor to even the silly stuff, like just the apparel and the school colors and the spirit. I went to cheerleading camp at U of M, so it was just always in the back of my mind. I just always thought that is where I would be. As life would have it, when I look back, I really wish I would have studied a little harder in grade school and high school and taken advantage of every opportunity. Because when the time came to apply to U of M, analysis paralysis hit.
Oh, no.
And all my insecurities, like from high school, just came rushing in. Not to mention, when you read the requirements, I just was inches away from what it took on paper to get in.
Gotcha.
So that is my biggest regret, is just not applying to U of M, because I told myself no before I even had the chance to be accepted or rejected. So as a result of that, in my adult life, I never not applied to anything just because I think I'm not qualified. I go for it either way, because somebody's going to get it.
Amen. Yeah. Absolutely. Where did you end up going?
So I ended up going to a small liberal arts college in Adrian, Michigan called Siena Heights University.
Oh, okay.
And I get so jealous now, because when I went there, I chose to go there because I wouldn't have gone there at first, but a girl I really admired throughout school ended up going there, and she was just such an awesome person that I thought, man, if she went there, how bad could it be to follow in her footsteps? Because I was a little bit afraid to go to a college that was too big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I was saying I get jealous now because when I went there, it was just the little Catholic college in the middle of the cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go to other campuses to have the real, college experience.
Yeah.
But now the school has football stadium and all this cool stuff on campus. So I'm like, man, well, at least it's growing.
Yeah. That's interesting. I went to Wayne State, and
Mm-hmm.
I once thought back, and I had to rack my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't apply anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Wayne State was as good as it was going to get. And not saying Wayne State isn't a bad school, it was a great school, but I didn't even think about any place else, simply because, one, I didn't think I'd get in, and two, I didn't think I could afford it. I mean, at Wayne State, I could stay home, and to hear you say that you wish you had tried it, I have to agree with you. I wish that I had, tried to just apply one other place. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we could do it all over again.
Man, yeah.
So, what do you wish Black women in their 20s knew?
What do I wish Black women in their 20s knew? Or what do I wish I had known in my 20s?
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, I really see the 20s as a time to figure things out. It's like a gift in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do what you will with it, and it's up to you to make the right choices. So to me, the 20s are a time that you can just set yourself up to really kind of just settle and coast into your 30s.
Yeah.
And you can lay the groundwork for the rest of your adulthood. So you can pay off debt and not create it.
Mm-hmm.
If your parents, and this goes back to parents too, because I've never been, and my mom wasn't either. We've never been the type to say, hey, once you're 18, I'm kicking you out of the nest.
Right.
My family was always, the type that said, hey, if, the world can be cold, if you get too cold, come on back home. And it was left up to us kids, and we were the type to say, I'm not moving back home.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we were given that option. So if your parents tell you, you don't have to get out there and pay your own expenses and buy your own apartment, and do other, take advantage and hoard your money. Youth is a gift, and it's just the opportunity to make good choices. And the good choices and the bad choices, it has the potential to affect the rest of your life. So don't spend your time paying for mistakes you made in your 20s. That's what I would tell Black women in their 20s.
Oh, that's a good one. That is so good. You always think that, when you're in your 20s, you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, this is as far as I've gone so far in my life. And so this is the most important, not remembering that you kind of got a plan for what comes next, because something's coming next, So if I flip that and I ask you, what, if you could talk to yourself at 60, so, if you were sitting in a room and in front of you is yourself at 60, what would you tell her?
Man, Lord willing, I make it to 60. Yes. You know what? I would actually tell my I would ask, to respect your elders.
Right.
I would ask my 60-year-old self to tell me everything that she's learned. Because right now I'm sort of at a place where, I've actually had this thought in my mind. I wish my older self could come out of the future and tell something to me right now that would make me stop worrying and pondering the unknown.
Yeah.
So it's like, tell me life goes on. Tell me there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train about to hit me.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Would you say that optimism is a useful characteristic for Black women? Or is it something that kind of makes us dreamy-eyed and not focused?
Man, I've always erred on the side of optimism. And I
Okay.
will say this, though. There's a thin line and a really distinct difference between optimism and idealism.
Oh.
And conversely, I don't think pessimism will get us anywhere.
Right.
But since childhood, I've always sort of had or aspired toward a good balance of optimism and realism.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll explain that. So to me, realism provides like this awareness that you need to navigate the world. And then the optimism prevents us from being stifled and stunted by the things that are revealed by that realism.
Mm-hmm. And
so the optimism is what makes us say stuff like, why not me? And there's a different approach. There's more than one way to skin a cat, when one door opens, and just keep it moving. So optimism is very useful.
I have to agree with you. Mm-hmm. Speaking of optimism, what do you think, or do you believe that Black women have superpowers?
You know what? I got to say yes. I have to say yes. But and here's why. Like, I think our history and the stock that we come from and everything we survived, just by virtue of that, that's like proof positive that we have superpowers.
Yeah.
And here's the thing for me. There's like this magic and this wisdom that radiates, I think, every time like Black women like congregate and get together, whether it's at the beauty salon or at Thanksgiving dinner or sitting, just around in the backyard talking. And when we get together and share these like anecdotes and stories of like past struggles and how we overcame them, there is magic there. And it validates your faith and it gives you courage and hope. And, that being said, I'm pretty sure, women of, all races have their own superpowers, but I can only speak to Black women. And I've experienced that firsthand. And we do have superpowers. I truly believe it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So what gives you strength?
What gives me strength? Man, I think I'm at the best place right now in life to sort of examine that. What gives me strength, I think, is the possibility of like better days. That's what helps me get through difficult days. And what gives me strength also is it's almost kind of like when you physically work out and you build the muscle and it like hurts while you do it. Yeah. But when that muscle heals up and is stronger. So not to invite more struggles into my life. Right. But I feel like so much of the things that I have been through, so many of the things that I've been through have just made me stronger if I managed to make it through it and still live to talk about it.
When you think back over your life, what do you think of that is true today that would have shocked you 10 years ago?
Man, what is true today that would have shocked me 10 years ago? I think, man, I hope I don't sound like, too nerdy or anything. But the doors that technology have opened up for us that have basically eliminated the middleman in so many areas. Like you doing this podcast. Years ago, I would listen to Mason in the morning and, there's people on the radio in Detroit and like, how did they get into that? And then you read how they might have been, in a place where they could be mentored by, some person, and nepotism is who and all that. And now today you can literally wake up and say, I want to host a morning drive radio show. And you go to, the website, I forget what it's called. You can host a radio show. Yes. You can do a cooking show. You can write a book. You don't need a big publisher to publish a book. So to me, that would have shocked me 10 years ago, and I probably would have been shocked into gaining as much knowledge as I could to really be ready for these opportunities that are at our fingertips right now.
Where do you get your best ideas?
Man, my best ideas. I'm trying to think of some of my best ideas.
Well, I can think of one. I think your blog is amazing. So.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jessica. Well, you know what? I will say this. Fitness is an area that I need to focus better on. But I know for a fact that my best ideas come when I have a clear mind.
Okay.
And exercise in the past, because I don't do it every day, and I need to. I'm working on it. But like exercise, it seems to like get rid of that like sludge and that mental fog.
Yeah.
And like if I'm engaging in regular physical activity, it's like my mind is flooded with ideas. And as a blogger specifically, that's super important. Because I think back to maybe like circa 2009. I don't know what got into Kristen back then, but I was killing it in the fitness department and, you know, just eating right. And during that time, I had so many because I had a blog back then too. And I had so many talking points that I thought of. I used to just jot them down in a notebook. And after a while, I sort of had this pipeline of blog entries saved on my computer. And I was able to just go in there from day to day and cut and paste one and publish it every day because I had this stockpile from all these ideas.
Wow.
So I need to get back to that place. But that's where my best ideas come from if I'm taking care of myself, basically.
Nice. What brings you the most pleasure?
What brings me the most pleasure? For me to like pleasure so much, why am I like having a delay and thinking of what? So I guess I'll say just off the top of my head, laughter, relaxation. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm always sharing these pictures that are put up by the Coastal Living magazine. They always like have pictures of like ocean waves and you know all that stuff. So I love relaxation, good food, and awesome company. And I think if you have that little package of things, I don't care where you're at. You could be at home on vacation at somebody else's house. If you have that little combo going on, Pleasure City.
Oh, wow. What makes you laugh?
Man, good jokes. Sometimes I laugh at maybe things that I shouldn't laugh at, and I know that sounds so bad, but I mean I guess a good example. There are scenes in movies that are by no means meant to be funny, but I find humor in them. Like there are certain sound bites from The Color Purple.
Yes.
And we all know that, you know, Miss Celie's journey and her story and, you know, the abuse she endured and all that. Ain't nothing about that funny. But just those little daily, like, little slices of life and people she met along the way. Like, you could share a line from that and I know it immediately. So, comedy, I know it sounds obvious, but comedy brings me laughter.
Okay.
And then random things that my children do and say.
Oh, yeah.
Without even having like life experience behind it, but they know it already. I have a hearty kiki behind that. So.
Yeah. I've been told that this is blasphemous for me to say, but I do believe that God has gotten to the point where he's recycling souls.
Yes.
These babies out here today, like the looks they give you these children have been here before several times.
I truly believe it. I believe it. And I think they've been here before. I look at my own youngest who just turned 1 in June. And I just feel like he always knows something the rest of us don't. He just can't say it yet. But he gives side eye and he laughs at things that I didn't think he would think is funny. Yes, I agree with you, Jessica.
Yeah. I believe that when babies talk that babble, they're
Mm-hmm.
actually telling us the secrets to life. And because we can't understand it, we'll never know.
Yes. Yes. And the thing about it too is, growing up, things get socialized out of us.
Yes.
I know when I was little, I used to be a little bit of a ham,
Mm-hmm.
and I got in trouble a few times for, I'd be talking to people. Next thing I know, I done told somebody's business. My mama got to pull me to the side and say, you don't do that. And so, as you grow up, you kind of learn these, things that kind of masquerade themselves as like social graces and manners. But, I think those are like the little keys that, it's like pay attention to the out of the mouths of babes, they say.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your personal mission?
Personal mission. I like to say my personal mission is to leave sparkles and confetti wherever I go.
Oh, I like that.
Meaning like the late great Kate Spade, may she rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like different little trinkets and things that she's made that says she leaves a little glitter wherever she goes.
Mm.
And for me, that means I want to leave any space that I enter better than it was before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my being there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be the person that comes in and kills the vibe or makes
Mm-hmm.
everybody, look like, oh, what's she going to do now? I want to just spread goodwill and have my name and my legacy be
Mm-hmm.
one that like, generates hope and positivity. And I just want to leave a positive mark on the world. That's all I want to do.
Well, I can say that your positivity and humor is infectious, especially on
Thank
Facebook.
you.
I absolutely, when I'm having a bad day, I'm like, I know Kristen is going to bring it home. So,
Aw, that's so sweet. Thank
yes,
you.
yes. So, what excites you going forward into your future? What are you looking forward to?
What excites me? I guess I can say like just after enduring like two really devastating losses,
Mm-hmm.
somehow in that I've still sort of managed to continue to live a pretty good life.
Mm-hmm.
And what excites me about the future and what my hope is for the future is that my best days are still ahead of me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty exciting to think about, that of all the awesome good days that I've had, that there's even better waiting. I just try to stay in that headspace.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, so bad things happen to all of us. Everybody's got a story, and what just keeps me moving is just possibilities. And that I just got to say too, that word possibilities, I need to get something to hang up in my house that just says possibilities, because everything about that word, like, it evokes such a feeling of hope. I like the way that it's spelled. I like the length of it. It looks pretty written in cursive. So yeah, possibilities, that something awesome is always about to happen, and that blessings and miracles are just all around us if we pay attention. That excites me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about what your blog is about?
So Joy Scavenger, I started this blog, and it's when you told me about what drove you to start this podcast, it reminded me of my motivation to start this blog, because I was literally on Google, Googling widows. And when I Googled widows, I got a lot of stuff, but what people don't realize is that a lot of the things geared toward widows are like, and not to say anyone's struggle is any more than anyone else's, but when you start digging down into different niches, a lot of material geared toward widows is for the older widow.
Oh, yeah.
For, or people that maybe sort of anticipated their spouse's death, whether it be by old age, illness, or whatever.
Right.
There was really nothing out there for my age group, for people in their 20s and 30s that lost their spouse, that are just like starting out with young kids. And
right.
because I felt like me and my husband were, we worked so hard, but we were just starting to kind of live and enjoy it. I think about the days leading up to my husband's death, and we had just traded in. I had like a Chevy Malibu, and we traded it in for like this little used crossover SUV. And I'd just be, on Saturday and Sunday shooting around town in my little SUV and these two little young boys, and thinking, you know what, things are really good right now. And so to lose him after just, starting to live that life, it was really painful. So I started Joy Scavenger as sort of an answer to what I was looking for. And I wanted it to be a real-time look into how is this woman dealing? Because I get asked that all the time, like, Kristen, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
And I get told that by people that I wouldn't think would ask. I had like, a grown older man who who I wouldn't even think I would be on their radar, but he was like, Kristen, I would break down if I were in your shoes. I don't know how you still go about life, and you inspire me. And I'm like, wow, if I've done what I aim to do, is just inspire people.
Right. Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. What's next for Kristen?
So I think what's next for me, I don't know. I guess just one of my main goals is to turn my hobbies into habits.
Yes.
That is like one of my main goals. Like, so recently I've sort of been afforded a little bit of time to really chart out my next steps, whatever they are, and finish some of the projects that I've had over the years. So I got a lot of stuff hanging out in limbo.
Yes.
Things that I've like written on napkins and in old notebooks. My strongest focus right now is just growing this Joy Scavenger community. Right now I have the Facebook page that people can join if they just search Joy Scavenger on Facebook. And then there's the blog, which is just a baby right now, but working on getting more content on that. And then in time for the holidays, I really want to get some merchandise up there, because I think hashtag Joy Scavenger is just something really cool, like a cool conversation starter to have on a coffee mug or a t-shirt or tote bag.
Yes, I want that coffee mug.
I will get one to you.
Thank you.
And then I also have like these other plans in the back of my mind that I don't want to neglect. Like I have some really pie in the sky type stuff that I want to see come to fruition.
Awesome. Oh man, I'm excited to know, because I know that the things that you do them so well. So I can only imagine whatever's coming down the pipeline, man, it's going to be good.
Whoa, thank you.
Yes. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to? So
I'm basically on all the main social media platforms, even though some of the new stuff that's coming out, I got to play catch up.
Yes.
I'm not snapping. I play with the filters, but I'm not like always on Snapchat. But you can get in contact with me on Instagram at Chris Understood. That is KRIS Understood. I am on Facebook. There's my website, www.joyscavenger, all one word, .com. Feel free to post comments on the blogs I have on there right now. You can get in touch with me that way. And I'm also on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, please reach out to me and say hi. Because right now I'm feeling like my Twitter page is where tweets go to die.
No.
Honestly, I feel like when you're at a dance and you're standing against the wall and you think someone waved at you, but they're waving past you and you're just kind of awkward. So on Twitter, you can @ me at Chris Miss MISS Time. I thought it was cute when I came up with it, but Christmas Time on Twitter. So those are the ways you can reach out to me if you want to.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'll put all of that information in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you.
Awesome
Oh,
sauce.
Kristen, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome. I was not sure, like I said earlier, how people were going to react to be asking, to be podcast guests. And I'm just so blessed to have so many friends and family that are interested in kicking off this passion that I have. So I want to
Oh,
thank you
yes.
so much for being a part of it.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you for even thinking of me to include me. It is an honor.